Good morning, all. We'll be moving into lecture number 6, that is die casting, methods and its application, and process parameter influencing quality of casting. So, the objective of this class is to introduce the common casting processes and its guideline in selection of the process. So, you will see the terms like die casting, gravity die casting, pressure die casting. So gravity die casting and pressure die casting will be the sub-classification of die casting. Again, under pressure die casting, you will again two more sub-classifications will come. It is called hot chamber die casting and cold chamber die casting. So far we have seen the casting processes can be broadly classified under two headings: expendable mold process and permanent mold process. So in the expendable mold process, as per the definition, mold is sacrificed to remove the part. So far we have seen about the sand casting. So sand casting is the one and the most common expendable mold processes used in the industry for casting various parts from small size to larger size. The next set of classification is permanent mold process, in which the mold is made of metal and can be used to make many casting. So here, if you are going for a mass production, you can go for permanent mold process. And also you can see the disadvantage is that geometry is limited by need to open mold. So all the geometries are not possible in permanent mold, as well as all the materials are not possible to make the casting by using this permanent mold process. There are other processes are also there in the expendable mold process than your sand casting. We'll have shell molding, we'll have investment casting, we'll have plaster mold and ceramic mold casting. You will have expanded polystyrene process and vacuum molding. So I am not going into that processes right now. So just as an overview I am giving. So these processes we will be discussing in some other classes on the later part of our lecture. Play a small video so that you can understand what is basically happening in industry in the making of products.
This is Lodge Cast Iron. We're the only place in the country that still makes cast iron cookware, and we've been at it for over 114 years. Unlike other cookware, cast iron only gets better with age. But before you start cooking, we've got a lot of hard work to do.
So it's about a product manufacturing company. So you can see the ingredients used in the company. So normally
the main elements in cast iron cookware are iron, carbon, and silicon, mostly derived from three things. First, we have pig iron. Pig iron is the product of the smelting of iron ore. Our next ingredient is recycled scrap steel from other manufacturing processes.
So all the materials are fed into a hopper.
Our last ingredient is recycled cast iron. Any cast iron that doesn't make it into one of our skillets, well, it returns here to be used again. These raw materials are weighed according to a specific recipe to obtain a 2,000-pound char. The materials are weighed into a 600-degree preheater. This preheater removes any oil or water that may be on the material. This is an electric induction furnace.
Melting furnace.
The furnace runs at 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit and can hold up to 4 tons of molten metal. It takes 15 minutes to melt all the 2,000-pound charge into a super hot liquid metal.
Temperature time you have to set over there.
It's at this point we take a sample.
After certain time,
and depending on the spectrometer results of this sample, workers will add measured amounts of alloys to the iron bath.
So spectroscopic analysis will be performed. We will be able to know which element and what percentage is available in the casting. So what additional elements
this is to give our finished pan the specific chemistry to meet our quality standards.
Quality that will be added. You can see.
When the iron bath achieves the desired temperature and composition, 2,000 pounds of molten cast iron are tapped into a transfer ladle. We're almost ready for the molds, but first, since the iron contains impurities, we've got one more important step before molding. We add a product called vermiculite. Vermiculite is a binding agent that holds together all the oxides, or slag, that form in our metal mixture. This slag forms when our 2,000-pound mixture meets oxygen. We then slag the metal to get rid of any impurities in our molten cast iron.
So the melting temperature is an important parameter. Pouring temperature is also an important parameter.
We are slagging one last time to make sure our cast iron has no impurities before it proceeds to the molding process.
Ensuring that even before adding, no slag is present in the slag powder. So the grain lag is taken. So this pouring speed, pouring temperature, everything all are factors in this casting.
This is our pattern shop.
So you can
in this room we select from a variety of patterns to make our skillets. Here we see our employee inserting a new pattern into the D-Somatic. This machine makes our sand molds. It makes 2 halves of the same pattern.
Typical metallic pattern used for the casting process.
When these 2 halves come together, we will pour our mixture down in between. Depending on the pattern, this machine can produce 400 to 1,600 pieces an hour. Lodge uses sand molds, an ancient technology. Sand molding remains the best and most practical way to cast iron. Our molten iron is so hot it would melt almost any other material, but the sand can hold its own against the heat. This is how it works. Compressed air forces moist sand into a pattern that is squeezed at 700 to 1,000 pounds per square inch to form the exact contour of our skillet. Exact reverse impressions of both sides of the pan are formed in the cavity in the sand. Molten iron fills the cavity, creating your skillet. In pouring our molds, the liquid metal must be between 2,480 and 2,520 degrees. This temperature produces the best finish for the castings.
These are beveling process.
The cookware moves along a vibrating conveyor belt for about 40 minutes to shake off the molding sand. The sand is captured, cooled, and recycled. From here, our cookware begins its cleaning process. The first step is a rotating drum. In the rotating drum, the pans are tumbled in a bed of iron media, which removes much of the remaining molding sand. Next, we blast the cookware to remove any remaining residual molding sand. This is done with a fine steel shot that is blasted on the pan to remove the sand. Shot blasting is a very effective way to remove the sand, and efficient because the steel shot gets recycled, so there's no real waste. This is what the pans look like when they come out of the machine.
To the next slide. So from the previous video, you can see the process parameters in casting is pouring temperature, pouring speed, solidification time, mold hardness, sand particle size, moisture content, and permeability. So these all are general process parameters in casting. So when I am shifting from sand casting to permanent mold, some parameters over here will not have its effect. So now I'll move into the permanent mold casting process. So under permanent mold casting process, we will have gravity die casting, we will have pressure die casting. There are two types of pressure die casting is available: low and high pressure casting. We will have centrifugal casting, we will have squeeze casting, and continuous casting. So today in the lecture, the later time, I'll be focusing more on this die casting, that is gravity die casting and pressure. So in die casting, a metallic mold is used in the place of a sand mold with which large number of castings are made, and the metallic mold is known as die. So you can see a typical opening of a die is shown over here. Okay, so you can see these two. When it is closed, you can see this gap will provide the mold cavity. In between this, you can see these all are the runner system which you have already cut on this die, so that when you pour the molten metal into it, it will fall into these openings. It will reach the entire area. So when you close it, you will get the empty space, that is nothing but your mold cavity. So here no sand is required, only two metal halves will join together. You will get the cavity inside to it, and you can pour the molten metal into it. You can get the product. Okay. The sand mold is to prepare the mold in each of the casting produced. That's why it is called as expendable mold process. You have to sacrifice the mold in getting the product out of it. And a typical machine to produce die casting is shown here. You can see these are the ways or types of die cavities available. You can see single die where only one product or maybe one product or maybe one of a product is imprinted on a die, that is called single cavity. die cavity where same component of multiple times attached to a common system is shown over here. This is called multiple cavity die. Combination die where different products, okay, or different parts are assembled in a single die, that is called combination die. And last one, it is called unit die, where all parts of a system or all parts of a component is attached to one die, unit die. So in the case of die, it can be single die, it can be multiple cavity die, it can be combination die, or it can be unit die. So the materials which is normally used to make the molds in the die casting is tool steel, mold steel, or maraging steel. Or tungsten and molybdenum are used to make the dies for cast steel and cast iron operations. Now, when compared to the sand molding, here the important one of the important part in the mold for permanent die casting is ejector pin. So when you open the die halves back into its position, the part will be stuck into one of your die. So you have to remove it. So to remove it, you have to actuate the ejector pin. So once it is ejector pins is actuated, then only the part is getting separated from your mold. So the die material should have a high thermal resistance. Okay, thermal resistance in a sense means the molten material should not have any affinity towards the die material whatever you are using in the case of permanent die moldings. And lubricants must be sprayed into the cavities to prevent sticking. So lubricating or preheating normally you will be doing in the case of die casting before you are closing the die and before the metal is poured into the die, poured through the pouring basin into the metallic dies. So the classification already I have told you. You will have gravity or permanent die castings. We will have low pressure die castings. We will have high pressure die casting. So we will see one by one. Gravity die casting. So as is shown in the figure, so you can see you have two halves. Okay, using rotating pin, you can exactly close it. Already runner, riser, screw, everything will be already added in the mold when you are making the molded design, and you are pouring the molten metal through the runner through the down screw. It will go through all the runner system. It will fill the cavity and you will get the information that it is filled in the cavity when it is coming out through the riser. So in the gravity field system, no pressure is applied. Okay, through the gravity only, the molten metal is poured into the mold, is reaching into the mold cavity, and the filled one you are obtaining. Since no external pressure is applied here, we call that process as gravity die casting process. So when we apply the pressure, we call that casting process as pressure die casting process. And the pressure varies from 70 to 5000 kg per centimeter square, and you have to keep the pressure till the casting solidifies in it. See, for example, as I told you, there are two types of pressure die castings is available. One is called cold chamber die casting and the other is called hot chamber die casting. So the below figure indicates a cold chamber die casting, where you can see this is you. So I told you there will be two halves of your die will be there. One is movable and other is fixed one. So when you close together the movable and fixed one, the cavity you can see the mold cavity is formed in between it. So to this mold cavity you will be filling the molten metal. Here what you are doing is that you have a furnace elsewhere. From the furnace you have taken the molten metal on a ladle. Through the ladle you are pouring it on a short chamber. And you can see there is a ram is also attached at the back of your at the last position where you are pouring the molten metal into this chamber. So what you are doing is that when you pour the molten metal into it, you can see the short chamber will be filled with the liquid, filled with the molten liquid metal. Now what you will do is that you will operate this ramp. So when I operate it, you can see all the molten metal which was there in the short chamber. Now it has been moved and filled in the mold cavity. And you have to keep this ram in its position till the solidification occurs. Now, when once the solidification occurs, first you have to move this ram out, and next you have to separate these two mold halves. So when you separate these two mold halves, you can see the part will be either sticking to this side or this side of your mold cavity. So what you can say that wherever is fitting, you will have the ejector pin. So ejector pin is actuated. So ejector pin separates your part from your mold cavity. So easily multiple number of components in a faster time with a good mechanical property you are able to manufacture in the case of pressure die casting. But here when you are taking the molten metal out to ladle and you are pouring it into chamber, so the pouring temperature and pouring time, all those things will be a critical in the case of cold chamber die casting. So to avoid this, you can go for hot chamber die casting. So you can see this is a typical machine for cold chamber. So we have told you that you can see these all are the mechanisms to ensure that the gap between your movable die and your fixed die is permanently closed. Okay, so you can see this is the cover die. So this is the ejector die. Okay, so ejector box is also shown over here. So plunger roll, everything is shown over here. So this is a schematic representation of a cold chamber casting machine. So in hot chamber die casting, what is happening is that at the end of your furnace itself, you are keeping this plunger arrangement so that you are ensuring that it is not need to transfer out. You can do it directly over there itself. So metal is melted in a container and a piston injects liquid metal under high pressure into the die. So you will have extremely high production rate, nearly 500 parts per hour, or more than that is able to produce in hot chamber die casting. So the drawback is it is limited only to low melting point metals and alloys that chemically will not attack the plunger and other mechanical components. So for example, zinc, tin, lead, magnesium, all those things, if you want to make the product out of it, you can go for hot chamber die casting process. So as is shown over here, you can see this is the furnace chamber over here. Here it says the metal is being melted. So these all areas are filled with liquid, and you can see it is connected through a small neck operation into your die cavity. And you can see the neck resembles to the neck of a goose. So this neck area over here, that is called as goose neck. So through the goose neck, when you operate the plunger down, the liquid metal in this chamber, it will be filling or it will be flowing through this goose neck into the mold cavity, and this cavity will be filled out. As like in the previous casting, here also you need to operate or you need to hold the plunger in its position till the solidification completes. So you can see this is the initial stage where melting happens. The operation of ram is shown over here, and you can see as a result the mold cavity is filled. Till the solidification happens, you will keep this plunger in its position, and when once the solidification happens, you move the plunger back into its position. You have ejected the part out by using the ejector pin. And final part is shown over here. Later, render, riser, gating, anything else there, you have to trim off from the cast. So you can see a typical machine is also shown over here. Okay, so piston arrangements is shown over here, nozzle, gooseneck, everything is shown over here. So this is to hold or to ensure tightly between your movable and the fixed die. Okay. So the sequence is given over here. Anyhow, I have already given the description about the sequence of operation while explaining the figure. You can just have a look, you can just have a read. So the advantages of die casting is it is high production rates are possible. It is economical for large quantities. Close tolerances are possible. That is extremely good tolerances are possible in die casting, which is not possible in the case of sand casting. You will get good surface finish. Thin sections are possible. Rapid cooling. It is a rapid cooling happening in die casting. So the material will end up with fine grain and high strength will be resultant in die cast. So limitations is cost of machinery is very high for small components. For lesser number of components, the feasibility of product will be a questionable. So mold dies are machined from hardened tool steel, so that machining is not easy. It is little bit costlier. So commercial tools cannot be able to employ for this machine for this machining purpose. So you have to see what you can able to do. So molds cannot take extreme heat. So if extreme heat is taken, the mold will get melted. So the process is entirely limited to low melting point alloys and metals. Not only metals and alloys, even plastics are also used for plastic manufacturing also. Die casting is used in industries. So effect of high pressure, limited part size. So these are the limitations of die casting process. Though these limitations is have, if you want to go for a mass production, then this is one of the best and feasible casting operation that you can choose. So application, plenty of applications are there. So automotive parts like pistons, pumps, bodies, these all things are made by using die casting. So not only metals, plastics are also molded, can be also molded. I have told you earlier also. So commonly used metals will be aluminum, magnesium, copper based alloys and cast iron. So these are the materials which you can pour in the pour and obtain by using die casting operations. So some of the parts and figures I'll show you in the these slides. So you can see brake drum, hub, crankcase cover, hub cover, transmission case, crankcase. Normally will be made from cast iron, or you can see they will be made from aluminum. So depends on what vehicle, where and how you are using, the material is going to change. So normal metal will be cast iron. So you can see cylinder head, cylinder block, cylinder head cover. So if it you can either it can be again from aluminum for Ace engine, or it can be made from cast iron for normal engines. So that is the end of the lecture number 6. So we can go for the questions, or we can clear the doubts right now. Thank you.